The storm took 23 stalls in one night. It left one standing, the one that should have fallen first. Mama John had been selling peppers, tomatoes, and crayfish in EK Market for 11 years from a stall that looked like it was held together by stubbornness and old zinc. 3 wooden poles, a roof patched in 7 places, a table with one leg slightly shorter than the others, propped by a folded piece of cardboard that she replaced every Monday morning without fail. The traders on either side of her had iron frames. The traders across the row had reinforced canopies, generator-powered lights, and banners with their names printed in bold. Chief Trader Adayeze, who ran the Market Association and whose stall anchored the entrance of the row, had spent 400,000 naira on her setup the year she was elected chairperson. She told anyone who would listen that a stall was an advertisement, that how it looked was what people believed about what was inside it. She was not wrong about this. She was, however, wrong about Mama John. What nobody in that market understood, not yet, was that Mama John had been building something for 11 years that no storm could touch. She did not know it herself. She was not building it on purpose. She was simply being what she was, and something had been watching. Mama John arrived every morning by 6. She arranged her produce slowly, the way a person arranges something they love. Peppers lined by size, tomatoes turned so the best face showed, crayfish scooped with a deliberateness that made it look like ceremony. She used a small brass scale, the old kind, with a pan, and she weighed everything twice. Every customer, every transaction. Not once, twice. Nobody asked her to. Nobody else did it. "You are wasting time," her neighbor told her once. "They won't thank you for it." Mama John said nothing. She adjusted the weight. She moved to the next customer. There was a boy at the market entrance who repaired shoes. He had a bad leg that made the walk from the bus stop slow and painful, and he arrived every morning just after Mama John. Every midday, without being asked, she sent a cup of cold water across to him. Not every few days, not when she remembered, every single day. He never asked for it. She never made a thing of it. It was simply what happened in EK Market, as reliable as the sun moving across the zinc rooftops. There was also an old woman, Mama Chidima, who came every Thursday to buy crayfish. She always arrived with not quite enough money. She would count it out on the edge of the table with slow, careful hands, as if counting more carefully might produce more. Mama John's hand moved differently when Mama Chidima stood at the table. The measure was always a little fuller than what the money covered. Always. Not sometimes, not on good days, every Thursday for years without exception. Nobody spoke about it. Nobody was watching. That was the point. The year the Market Association voted to restructure the row assignments, Mama John lost 15 feet. That is all it was, 15 feet closer to the back of the row. But 15 feet in EK Market was the distance between being found and invisible. Customers who had bought from her for years walked the row, didn't see her, and stopped somewhere else. The association held a formal vote, 7-2. The chairperson had signed off on the new layout herself. No one said it was personal. It didn't need to be. In the weeks that followed, Mama John's income fell by nearly half. She started leaving stock overnight to save on transport. She kept a small notebook where she tracked every transaction, and one evening she sat alone in the empty market and opened it. Her daughter Chisam was in her 2nd year of secondary school. Fees for the next term were due in 6 weeks. The number in the notebook was short, not a little short, significantly short. She turned to the previous month's page, then the month before that, the same story written in different numbers. The trend was not going in the right direction and had not been for some time. She sat with that for a long moment. She did not cry. There was something in her that had stopped expecting fairness from the market a long time ago. She had made peace with doing what was right, regardless of what came back. But peace is not the same as not feeling the weight. She felt it that evening, the full, honest weight of it, sitting alone on her stool as the last light left the market. She closed the notebook. She stood up. She covered her stock. She walked to the bus stop. She came back the next morning at 6. She told no one. She complained to no one. She simply kept doing what she had always done, for reasons she could no longer explain, in a market that had stopped rewarding her for it. What was already moving towards her from a direction she had never thought to look is the part that changes everything. Stay with it. If this story is reaching you at the right moment, share it before you keep reading. Someone needs to hear what comes next. 6 weeks before the storm, a man came to EK Market that did not belong there. Too clean, shoes with no dust. He walked the rows slowly with his hands in his pockets, watching how things were weighed. He did not explain himself. He stopped at several stalls and bought small things he clearly didn't need. He looked at scales the way a person looks at something they are marking for future reference. None of the traders noticed what he was actually doing. He didn't look like someone with authority. He looked like a man with time. He came to Mama John's table near the end of the row. He bought a small bag of crayfish and stood still while she waited. He watched her weigh it again. "You weigh it twice," he said. "Yes," she said. "Why?" She looked him squarely. "Because once is enough to get it right. Twice is enough to be sure." He nodded slowly, the way people nod when they have heard something they already believed but had stopped expecting to find. He took his bag. He walked out of the market without looking back. Mama John watched him go for a moment, then turned to the next customer. She forgot him immediately. She had far more pressing things on her mind. The storm came on a Thursday evening. The warnings had come by midday. The senior traders had heard it before. They had spent years investing in preparation, deep-set posts, reinforced frames, bolted roofing panels. Arayeze had contractors check her structure 2 days earlier. She was not a woman who left things to chance. The wind came from the east in 2 waves. The first was the warning. The second arrived before the warning finished. The iron frames had too much surface area. The wind found them and pushed. The deeper the posts, the harder the ground resisted the torque, and the structures cracked instead of bending. 2 canopies inverted completely and came down on the stalls behind them. A generator was found the next morning 30 meters from where it had been bolted to the ground. One trader's entire stock, bags of grain she had been storing under her reinforced canopy because she trusted it, was scattered across 3 rows, soaked and ruined by morning. Arayeze's banner ended up in a tree on the other side of the road. Mama John's 3 wooden poles bent so far that anyone watching would have been certain they were coming down. They did not come down. There was nothing rigid in them to snap. They gave everything the wind demanded. The wind passed through and left them. 23 stalls destroyed, 8 partially standing, 1 intact. Mama John arrived at 6, as she always did. She stood looking at the twisted metal and cracked concrete around her. She felt something she could not name, not victory, not satisfaction, something quieter than either of those. She reached under her table, picked up the folded cardboard from where the wind had scattered it, and placed it back under the short leg. Then she sat up. The man in the gray suit arrived at 10 o'clock. He walked directly to her stall, not browsing, not looking around, as if he had coordinates. He placed a folder on her table. He told her his name, Regional Procurement Officer for a food distribution company. 15 hotels, 2 hospital canteens, 1 government facility. 8 months searching for a reliable crayfish and pepper supplier in this region. 11 markets visited. Dozens of traders watched. She was the only one who had weighed twice. The contract was not a fortune, but it was enough. Enough for Chisholm's school fees, not just this term, through to final year. Enough to repair the roof properly. Enough to claim a front-row position without needing anyone's vote to matter. One condition, he said. She waited. Fixed terms, fair price both sides, honest measure every single time. If a measure is ever short once, the contract ends. No second chances. He paused. And if a measure is ever over, you lose the difference. But we'll know we can trust you. Mama John looked at him. That is how I have always done it, she said. Something settled in his expression. Not surprise, confirmation. I know, he said. That is exactly why I'm here. What it cost the others to be standing in that destroyed market on that morning, while she was the only one still open, the only one still weighing, the only one a stranger had crossed 11 markets to find. That is something words can only point toward. Before the ending, subscribe and turn on the bell. Every story on this channel is built exactly like this one. The hand behind it doesn't show until the final moment. Don't miss it. The market took 3 weeks to rebuild. In those 3 weeks, traders who had lost everything came to Mama John to buy wholesale while their stalls were being repaired. She sold to them at cost, no margin. Her hands simply moved that way when those people stood at her table. The brass scale sat in its place. She weighed twice. Adaze came on the 5th day. She did not come to buy. She came alone, without the girls who used to work for her, without the authority that usually entered a room before she did. She stood at Mama John's table and looked at the 3 wooden poles and the patched zinc roof for a long moment. There was something in her face that was not easy to name. Not shame exactly, not admiration, something between the two. The expression of a person who has just understood that they were measuring the wrong things for a very long time. She said, "How is your stall still standing?" Mama John said, "I don't know." This was true. Adaze nodded slowly. She bought a small bag of pepper. She waited while Mama John weighed it. She watched her weigh it again. She didn't say anything about that. She just took her bag and left. The younger girl who used to work for Adaze, the one whose laughter Mama John had once heard and never acknowledged, came to ask if there was any carrying work. Mama John gave her steady hours, no ceremony, no lesson delivered. She needed someone to carry, and the girl was there. On the 2nd day, the shoe repair boy set a cup of cold water on her table without a word. She had given him water every midday for 11 years. She had never calculated what that cost. She had never expected it back. He had been watching, apparently, and waiting for a moment that it made sense to return it. She had never once planned for any of it. She had only ever planned to be honest. The market never fully understood why the smallest stall was the only one that survived. Some said it was luck. Some said it was the angle of the wind. Some said the 3 wooden poles were old enough to know how to bend without breaking. None of them were wrong exactly. None of them all the way right. Somewhere in this community, someone is quietly doing something right that nobody is watching, something they have almost stopped believing matters. Drop it in the comments. This channel was built for exactly those people. Like this story if it found you at the right moment. Share it with someone who is still standing when they should have fallen, or someone who needs to believe they can.